She was only the 911 dispatcher until a SWAT captain visited her personally. Emily Turner had learned to live in the rhythm of ringing phones. They were the pulse of her world, beating endlessly through the walls of the dispatch center, a rhythm that rarely paused and never truly stopped. She had worked as a 911 dispatcher for 6 years, and in that time she had grown so used to the shrill sound of calls coming in that silence almost felt alien. When silence did happen, when the phones went still for even a few seconds, it made her feel uneasy, as though the world was holding its breath before another storm of chaos broke. She wasn't the kind of person who was noticed much. When people thought of first responders, they pictured officers in uniform, firefighters carrying hoses, paramedics leaning over stretchers. Dispatchers didn't make it onto posters or recruitment commercials. They didn't walk in parades or receive hugs at community events. They were faceless voices, and that was how most of the world preferred it. Unseen, unnamed, but always there when needed. Emily had accepted that. She told herself she didn't mind, even when she felt invisible. After all, she hadn't taken the job for recognition. She had taken it because she wanted to help, and because she knew she had the temperament for it. She could be calm when others were crumbling. She could listen carefully, catch details through chaos, and weave a sense of control in moments when control had vanished for everyone else. But even with that ability, there were nights when she went home with the echoes of voices in her head. Pleas, screams, sobs that no amount of quiet could drown out. Her apartment was small, tucked on the second floor of a faded building, and most of the time she was too tired to do anything there but sleep. Her fridge was usually near empty, save for coffee creamer and take-out boxes. A dying fern sat on her windowsill, its leaves yellowing. She had once promised herself she'd buy a pet for companionship, maybe a cat, but she always told herself she didn't have the time. Life had become a cycle of 12-hour shifts, catnaps, and caffeine, with the occasional call to her mother on Sundays just to prove she was still alive. That Tuesday night started like any other. Rain washed down the windows of the center, streaking the glass and blurring the streetlights outside. Inside, the dispatch room glowed with the light of monitors and the soft buzz of headsets. A dozen dispatchers worked at their stations, voices overlapping in a low symphony of urgency. Emily adjusted her chair, pulled her coffee close, and logged in to start her shift. Her headset felt familiar, like a part of her, as she slipped it on and prepared herself to be the calm in someone else's storm. An hour into the shift, the call came. 911, what's your emergency? Emily said, her voice practiced, steady. A man's voice exploded in her ear, shaking with panic. They're in my house. Oh, God. They're in my house. Emily's body tightened, but her tone didn't change. Sir, I need you to take a breath and tell me your address. He shouted it, the numbers tumbling out as if saying them faster would make her respond faster. She typed them into her system, alerting the nearest patrol cars. Okay, I've got officers on the way. Where are you in the house? In the bedroom. I locked the door, oh God, they're banging. His voice broke into gasps. Emily could hear it through the headset, the sound of heavy footsteps, voices barking orders, something slamming against a door. A woman's scream cut through, faint but unmistakable. Her pulse thudded in her ears, but her voice remained level. Sir, stay quiet. Don't try to open the door. Officers are close. Can you tell me how many are inside? 3, maybe 4. I don't know. They've got guns, I saw. A crash interrupted him, and the line erupted into muffled chaos. The man's breath hitched, then silence, Sir, are you there?" Emily pressed, her voice urgent but controlled. Nothing. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, relaying updates to patrol units. Possible home invasion, suspects armed, multiple subjects inside with hostages. She called for backup, then notified the duty supervisor. Within minutes, the situation had escalated beyond a simple burglary. This was a barricade with hostages, the kind that made the city call in its SWAT team. The next 2 hours stretched into a blur. Emily never left her headset. She was the one relaying between negotiators, patrol officers, SWAT commanders. She listened when the suspects shouted threats into the phone. She picked up details in the background. 2 children crying, a woman begging softly, that she passed to officers outside. Every scrap of information mattered. Every second felt like balancing on the edge of a knife. At one point, the line went dead. The suspects had smashed the phone. For several long minutes, silence ruled, broken only by the coded voices of officers over the radio. Emily sat frozen, headset pressed tight, trying to catch anything, any sound, any signal. When the negotiator managed to reconnect through another line, she nearly wept with relief, though she didn't let it show in her voice. Then came the entry. Gunfire popped faintly through the speakers as SWAT breached. Emily's chest tightened, her hands gripping the desk. She wasn't there, but in her mind she saw it all. Officers storming in, suspects firing, children screaming. She waited, seconds dragging like hours, until finally the words came across the channel. Hostages secure, suspects in custody, scene clear. Emily exhaled, long and trembling. Her headset shifted slightly as she leaned back, eyes closed. Relief flooded her, followed by the familiar ache of exhaustion. She had done her part. The children were safe. The family would live. That was all that mattered. By the time she clocked out the next morning, the sky was just beginning to lighten, gray clouds streaked with hints of dawn. She drove home through wet streets, her body running on fumes. At home, she didn't bother with breakfast or even changing clothes. She collapsed on the couch, still hearing faint echoes of gunfire in her ears. Sleep dragged her under almost instantly. 2 days later, everything changed. It was mid-shift when her supervisor tapped her on the shoulder. "Emily, someone's here to see you." She frowned, puzzled. Nobody ever came to see a dispatcher. Curious, she removed her headset and followed him to the back door. Standing there was a man in tactical gear, his presence commanding the small hallway. His uniform bore the name Captain Reynolds. He turned as she approached. His face was weathered, his eyes sharp yet warm. "Dispatcher Turner." "Yes, sir," she said, uncertain. He extended a hand. His grip was firm. "I wanted to thank you personally." Her brows lifted. For what? For keeping it together the other night, for giving us everything we needed to get those kids out alive. You didn't lose your head when the rest of us were staring at a nightmare. Because of you, 2 children went home safe. Emily blinked, the weight of his words sinking in. She was used to hearing a curt "good job" over the radio, sometimes not even that. To have the captain of SWAT standing in front of her, saying this, it was surreal. "I was just doing my job," she murmured, embarrassed by the attention. Reynolds shook his head firmly. "No, you did more. You were the steady voice holding us together. I saw those kids run to their mom. I saw their father's face when he realized his family was safe. That happened because you didn't crack under pressure. Don't ever think you're just a dispatcher." Her throat tightened, emotion rising. She had always told herself her work mattered, but to hear it from someone who had been on the other side, someone who had seen the outcome she never got to witness, made it real in a way nothing else had. "Thank you, Captain," she whispered. He gave a small smile. "You might never wear a vest or kick down doors, but you save lives all the same. Don't forget that." When he left, Emily stood for a long moment, unable to move. Her co-workers watched quietly, some with newfound respect in their eyes. She returned to her desk, headset waiting, but something inside her had shifted. For the first time in years, she felt seen. In the weeks that followed, Emily carried that moment like a light inside her. The job didn't get easier. There were still screams and silences, still tragedies she couldn't prevent. But when the weight grew heavy, she remembered the children's cries when they were rescued. She remembered Captain Reynolds' words. And she realized that being only the dispatcher was never small, because sometimes the strongest heroes are the ones whose names nobody knows, whose faces nobody sees. Sometimes the calmest voice in the darkest hour is the very thing that saves the world for someone else. And though Emily might never wear a badge on her chest, she carried something just as powerful, proof that even a quiet, unseen voice could echo in the lives of others forever, even though Emily was only a 911 dispatcher. Her calm voice, quick thinking, and steady presence made the difference between tragedy and rescue. It shows that true heroism isn't always visible in uniforms or on the front lines. Sometimes it's found in the unseen, quiet dedication of those who work behind the scenes. This story teaches us to value every contribution, no matter how invisible it may seem, because every role has the power to change lives.